Oh, have you heard the news? It's probably been twisted to keep the general population conflicted. Better lick your finger and turn the page. Dissect the lines that made you to rage. Get out of your Monday drudgery. Turn up the volume on front page fuckery. Yeah.
Finally, he'll no longer be Prince because you can't have a pedo thriving in the palace. Woo! We might as well just call this show not front page fuckery. Let's call it, instead of like breaking news, breaking nonce. Because ever since I launched this podcast, I have been coming here to yap about Andrew. Because I don't have to say Prince no more. I wasn't saying Prince in the first place. I really didn't say King Charles. I would call him KC3. I just don't recognize them as any sort of authority. But we are moving too quickly. Whoa. Slow down. Anyway, it's me, Kelechi, the baby girl, aka Mother of London. And I'm back with another episode of Front Page Fuckery. Thank you for joining me. We're just here turning bad news into great conversation, especially when it's to do with the monarchy. My God, if this is your first time joining me, well, welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope to be your favorite thing about your week. I'm now thinking, do I need to change the theme tune? But I worked really hard on the theme tune because, it says, get out of your Monday drudgery. Why am I not singing my own thing properly? But you get me. And basically tune into Front Page Fuckery. But the Monday drudgery still remains, right? So I guess I don't have to change it. Yeah. Because I like that. When I was writing it, I was like, girl, poet laureate, actually. Nobel Peace Prize for writing poetry, actually. But yeah, we're back for another episode. And I don't even know what I'm going to call this. But I feel like calling it I Was Right. Because since my previous podcast, again, if you're new to this, I have a whole other nearly 300 episodes of another podcast officially called Say Your Mind, unofficially called What? And that's right, Suck Your Mum. You can go and check that out. I started that in 2017, finished it in 2024. And then I took a break. Well, I didn't really take a break. I was making a private podcast that is still going. I'm really sorry. Meet me at the altar, people. I'm going to get an episode to you ASAP. So I've got a private podcast that's I basically talk about the same sorts of things, but I just talk about it through a spiritual lens. And we have a bit of tarot in there as well, because I'm a tarot and astrology girly. So we have that. But for the public, I don't feel like just the general public deserve all of my cuteness in that regard. Like, if you want it, you can go and subscribe to that private podcast. But you've got some of my cuteness, like I would say 40% of my cuteness for this podcast. And you know what? My friend Micah ate when he said, maybe just do the podcast on a Friday. And I thought to myself, I don't know, because I'm so used to releasing a public podcast on a Monday because of SYM Mondays. But front page fuckery Friday works, but I don't even want to commit to that, because the moment I commit to it, then I'm not going to be able to arrive to the office to come and record this, because I record this at my office. And if you're watching this and you're able to, well, if you're watching this, then you're able to see me. So that's a bit redundant. But if you're watching this, am I not getting better? Really, let's talk about it. Am I not getting better week by week with what this podcast looks like? I'm adding a bit of backlighting. I'm watching those videos about how to get the most out of your video photography or your videography. And I'm teaching myself bit by bit. If it looks wonky, don't ask me any questions. That's for another week, but I don't think it does. I took my time and I'm very proud with how I'm fixing this. I think that, don't quote me on this, but I actually think I might try my hand at editing this week's episode. That way I can get it out at the time that I want to get it out. Because, like I said, our baby boy Brent is very busy with his new broadcasting hub in the heart of Shoreditch. So, and I haven't found a person. I know that people suggested like going on Fiverr and getting somebody, but then I'm just, I don't know, setting them up, giving them my password, letting them do all of these things. I know that you can set up team members and but I think that I could just do this myself. Not me being a money-saving expert. I took the bus the other day. Those who know, I don't really like public transport. Not because I'm bougie. It's just like the things that I've experienced throughout the years, I just don't, and especially after the panoramic, aka the panda bear that we had in 2020 into still till now, because people are still getting the koro, the koro. Even with all of that being said, after experiencing all of that, I just rarely feel comfortable on public transport. But let me tell you, my bank account was like, girl, get on that bus. Get on the bus. Because I ain't got no time for talking all that stuff. I don't even know if those are the words, but I rarely know song lyrics, actually. I only know Shania Twain, You're Still the One, because that's what I've been learning on the guitar. So yes, I guess that's enough about those things. Well, no, we're still going to have me news. We've got you news, like your front, and then we've got my news, this news, and then your news. Okay. So anyway, my news. What do I want to go into? I think the main thing really is like, I genuinely think, I feel like I'm done. I feel like I'm done with everything. That's not a sign that I'm unaliving myself. Hell no. What would this world do without me? I actually feel sad for the day that maybe I go through hopefully natural causes, because in my old age, maybe by then I'll be made into a sentient consciousness, living on some kind of server. But I don't know, maybe that's actually how I'm living now, and what I think is my life isn't actually my life. I'm just reliving my life as a collection of memories in a server somewhere in Scandinavia. Hopefully not Scandinavia. Hopefully they've managed to kind of find a way for everything to work, because there's no past, present, future, right? So in the future now, where I'm doing all of this, maybe they've built these eco-friendly servers on the continent of Africa, and that's where I'm experiencing all of this stuff from. Maybe I've built it. Maybe I build all of that, and then when I die, I store my consciousness into this server, and then I'm forever existing, thus immortal. You're probably like, girl, what did you smoke? But I don't actually smoke the reefer. I don't participate in those frivolities. But it's a thought. And the reason I bring it up is because I had an experience the other day, and I made a video about this already, and people have been contacting me and they're like, girl, who are you talking about? What happened? Da, 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 da. And I don't want to talk actually about to these people who are asking me. But I went to an event the other day. I went to a Black History Month event, and a member of parliament came up to me, like we saw each other, did the cursory hug and everything else. And they were like, oh, I'm surprised you haven't been deported yet. Huh? What? Okay. So they said that. I'm a bit like, her. So I'm just like, well, I guess not. I guess I'm waiting. And they said, yeah, we all are. And I don't know, I just feel like people personally, professionally, internetally, really sometimes don't consider me to be an actual person with feelings. And I don't know how many other ways I can convey the fact that I'm just a baby girl. That's literally like my moniker. That's literally my slogan. Like, I'm just a baby girl, because it's like I need to constantly remind people that just because I am able to, for some reason, share my views and be consistent in sharing my views, it means that digs can be taken at me and it's cool. Meanwhile, I'm at this event when all of you, and I will say that, when all of you black MPs were having your things, your Black History Month events, who invited me? Because we really need to at some point speak about how, even like, I am genuinely the mother of London, and there is no rascal out body that can tell me any different. So why does the mayor of London fail to acknowledge me? For all that like, you have staff that say, oh, yeah, we thought about reaching out to you for different things, but we kind of think about you as a bit of a loose cannon. What is loose cannonish about me? Because I'm not a coon like the rest of you? Is that it? Because I'm not a performing monkey like the rest of you? And I'm not saying that like every MP is, right? Every MP of colour is a monkey or is a coon. But I just feel like there's this fear around me, and it's just like, and I'm happy to be the antithesis to what is being done. I'm happy essentially to be that shadow person, but let's actually run me my respect when we see me though. Let's do that, because there isn't a single member of parliament that can hold a candle to me. And I will say that with chest, and I'm not even wearing a bra today. So understand that, actually. Sorry, let me stay focused. Because for all of this loose cannon, when have I headbutted any of you when I should have? When have I rocked any of your jaws when I should have? This isn't just specifically the members of parliament. I'm just talking about across the board. I have had wild things said, and I am literally the embodiment of composure when these things happen. And I'm able to get my thoughts out very quickly and in a witty way as well. And I will not back down. But then it gets to the point where it's just like, okay, girl, to what end? Because I was having a mini spiral to the other day. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday, because I was baking. If you see me baking, I'm either procrastinating because I've got a deadline, which I do. I've got to hand something in tomorrow. I'm either procrastinating because I've got a deadline, or I'm very upset about something and I'm trying to process my thoughts by making my brains or my brains. Maybe I'm an octopus. Anyway, making my brain do something else. So I just have time to kind of like subconsciously sort of process what's going on, like use my other part of my brain to process my feelings. And I think it's a very constructive thing to do. I go for runs regularly. That helps me generally shift energy. I go to my Muay Thai sessions, my one-to-one sessions. That also helps. But really, when I am ready to like break something, I'll usually go bake, because it's very calming to me just to focus on something. And I don't, I baked some bread and I made some donut, because I'm using the same dough. I made some donuts yesterday, and it's half term as well. So it gave me and my son something to do together, because I also don't want to be in my feelings whilst my child is around, because energy doesn't get destroyed, right? It transfers. And I wouldn't want my son to be around my higgy hagger energy because other people have been moving mad. So yeah, I was having this sort of spiral yesterday where I was just like, I really want to give up. I hope, I want to know whether I have it in me to actually just stop. As in, actually fuck all of this. Like, I've got 3 books out, brilliant books. They're doing all right. And I think I'm going to talk about Black representation in the publishing industry in one of your emails that you sent, because I kind of skim read it, like the subject title and whatever. So I think I'm going to get to that. The publishing industry is nasty and racist. I've got 3 books out. I feel like the people who pander to racist rhetoric and stereotypes, they're the ones that their films, a lot of their films are out, or that their books are out. It's like Black people who are in these industries are rewarded for not moving us forward or introducing any salient conversation in any sort of way. That's not everyone, because there are some fantastic bits out there, but they're usually the exceptions, right? And they're anomalous for a reason. So you've got that. Then, you know, I've been doing podcasts for years and I'm just like, yeah, sure. I've got my members area. I'm like, yeah, sure. Everything, I've got the pole dance studio. Everything feels like, yeah, sure. And it's just like, well, I could just stop, because I know that the main reason that I haven't been able to move to the level that I'd want to move to with all of these various projects, it's because I'm outspoken. It's because I actually say what I think and I don't try to cower to the pretend powers that be. Like, you lot are actually letting yourself get run by people who are paedophile apologists, right? You are willing to acquiesce to absolute dickheads. That's wild to me. And for that, I'm now the bad guy. Like, what? Telling me at an event that I got dressed up for, did my hair look cute, to tell me, oh, I'm surprised you haven't been deported yet. Don't get me wrong. I understand how between black people that could be a joke, a very unfunny joke, but I guess maybe you thought you were doing something, right? But what needs to be always like remembered when we say these things is like, and I don't think this is down to levels of intelligence, it's context. Context one is that we're not boys. We rarely see each other. You lot sure as hell don't invite me to the events that you've got going on. So we're definitely not boys enough to be over familiar in that way. That's one. Two, who is the they? Because the joke would land if it was the Tories in power and you're like, rah, I'm surprised they haven't deported you yet, because I ran Preeti, I ran Suella, I ran Rishi, and I definitely run Kemi. I will cast them till kingdom come, right? So that joke can run where you're like, oh, the government that's in power, why haven't they deported you? I'd still be like, that's still a mad thing to say, but cool, whatever, because I do tell them about their clots. Rightly so with Labour. Why should I pretend that wrong is wrong? Do you get what I mean? Wrong is wrong. And oftentimes people ask me, oh, why haven't you gotten into politics? And some people even say, well, the reason that you get this backlash and all of that is because you are essentially a part of the political sphere. So it is what it is. But no, because I'm at the end of the day, I'm still a private citizen, a Benz Punani one at that. Sorry, that had nothing to do with anything. I'm so sorry. Let's stay focused. But it bothers me, you know, because you are a member of parliament that party is in power. You're the sitting government. So when you say the they is you. So are you privy to any information about me getting deported? And pray tell, what would I be getting deported for? What? You can't deport me on the grounds of sexy. What are we deporting me for? For calling out things that anybody with two working brain cells should be calling out. With just a smidgen of a beating heart should be calling out. And there was a point when, like, the video that I made on socials, I was just like, but why would I be getting deported? All I'm doing is making my videos and doing my little initiatives. And I had to check myself, because I was just like, why am I talking about everything that I've achieved in a diminutive sense? Like I said, I am everybody's Ross Clark mummy. From running the studio, you know, on my ones, doing the things that I've been doing with the support of community, let's not forget that. But forging ahead with a pole dance studio, forging ahead with a podcast, unlike anything that has been about before in terms of Britain, really. A black woman having a solo podcast, calling out the things where I could sell out Sadler's Wells. Is everybody actually all right? Everybody needs to be checking their thoracic vertebrae when they're talking to me. Stand up straight. What? Doing all of that, opening the children's home in Nigeria, like writing books, with more to come. Oh, baby, find me my equal. Absolutely. And I think the reason I say that is because I saw an article recently in one of the newspapers, and they were talking about the trailblazers of black women, or rah, 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 and how they described what I do. I mean, I appreciate that they included me in the piece, but sometimes I'm just like, what even is this? Did you just come across me? And there are people who were in the article that I'm just like, band for band. What are you, what? Britain is a bad vibes country. People try in every way to humble you. And I feel like no matter how strong-minded I am, it is affecting me, because I am actually going to get to the point where I'm believing that I'm not the bad babe that I am. Like, I'm not the absolute G, the 5-star Ras Clark general that I am. Because everywhere, you know, like, they say, you know, I give this example. I've given this example before, but like Junio Diaz, who wrote The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, he has some issues regarding some things from his past. But I bring him up because he said this thing about how being black or a person of color is akin to being a vampire, because vampires don't see their reflection. So they kind of accept that and grow in their monstrosity, right? And in their survival. I think I'm madly paraphrasing. But the reason I bring it up is because in society, in the industries that I span, I'm denied my reflection, because it's just like, we won't reflect back to you just how good you are at what you do, especially when it comes to the publishing industry. They gaslight you for days. And it just gets to a point where you're just like, why am I doing this? I don't worry about like deporting me, this, that, and the other, because soon and very soon, I'm not going to meet the king. Whew, no, no, not the heaven, not the sky daddy, not the guy with the nonce for a brother either. But I will move. And there's going to be a point, and you know, like I say things and they happen. There's a point where I'm going to move out of this country. Maybe I'll put aside my aspirations for Mayor of London, aka Mother of London 2028, and let a lesser being have it, right? I will go, and I promise you, you're going to miss me, because you will not find me getting myself involved in whatever the hell this godforsaken country has going on anymore. Because why am I getting extra grey hairs? Like, I mean, I've been having grey hairs for a minute, since I was like 16, but and my mum did as well. But I'm having extra added because I'm taking paracetamol for somebody else's headache. If you will not want to carry St. George's flags up and down, that's what you want to do here, do it. Do it. That's your business. If you, as the Black British community, want to stay beholden to narratives that do not serve you, absolutely, again, do it. Do it if you're bad. It just gets to the point where you're just like, fuck this. And I feel like it was the comment that made me think that, because I'm just like, should anything happen to you tomorrow in this position that you're in, I'm likely going to be one of the people who puts on a camera, turns on my camera, and starts cussing the institutions that harmed you in that way or caused you humiliation and embarrassment in that way. But the energy's never reciprocated towards me. Any black MP that I know of that's gone through a fuckery, even controversially, if Kemi was to go through something, I would likely, out of principle, say something. But it can be made a joke of that I should be deported. Child, keep it. Keep it. Don't worry. I promise you. Don't worry. Maybe that's why Spirit is delaying the money hitting my bank account, because the moment, I won't make any announcements, but you'll see the signs. The moment I can get the fuck, oh baby, I'm gonna get to fucking. I promise you. You can keep whatever the fuck this is, and whatever illusions all of you choose to remain under, have it. Have at it. Have a great time. People are suddenly discovering shoe and bag because their money's gone up, and then you now you think you could, like, anyway. Anyways, I just wanted to share that, because it just gets tiring, basically. For all my vim, it gets tiring. And some people were like, oh, you should have called them out right there and then, but you're the same fucking idiots that then if I did do that, you'd be like, oh, some of these things you deal with in private. You can't win for losing when you're a black woman. You literally cannot win for losing. So that's my news. Did anything else happen? No, I'm going to be at the Republic Members Day tomorrow, Saturday. And what else am I doing? I guess I'm doing some other things. I can't remember. I cannot remember. Anyway, let's get to the actual news. All of the front pages pretty much saying the same thing. Prince, I only recognize one Prince, and he sang Purple Rain, Purple Rain. Ooh, sing it. Purple rain, purple rain. Ooh. That's good clicking. That's really good clicking. My baby boy is here with me. Andrew, we now know him as Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, aka the former Grand Old Duke of Nantes, the rapiste, formerly known as Prince. Wow. This is why I was singing finally, because the Mirror, the Daily Mirror, oh, they were having a time, honey. Their front page, it says, it says, meet Mr. Windsor. King begins the process to strip Andrew of Prince title. He's ordered to leave Royal Lodge and Fergie's out too. Wills backs Charles's move amid yet more Epstein fallout. Royals say thoughts are with victims of all abuse. And they've just put here in big letters, finally, with an ellipses. And it says here, the fall of the House of York. Oh, child. I wonder if, though, William is with the shits because, you know, he loves a gag order. That shouldn't be news to anyone. Oh, this dress is everything. Who's Sydney? Sydney Sweeney. Oh, do we like? No, because she was in a racist advert, isn't she? That American. Was it? Yeah, that wasn't a good advert. But anyway, she was wearing a silver dress to something or other. Variety's 2025 Power of Women party, but the dress is sickening. For those who can actually see, that dress eats. It's the way it's cinched at the waist, and her boobs are just sitting nicely. I love the tailoring of that dress. I would definitely wear it. But I don't think we like her, so I won't say much more about that. I always think these women awards are so funny when I'm everybody's woman. I'm every woman. I don't take fuckery. Wait, did Shaka Khan support Israel? I think I need to shut up. I'm not singing anymore. Anyway, it says here, the scandal engulfing Prince Andrew over his links to sordid Jeffrey Epstein finally became too much for the king. Oh, let me go back to what I was saying. So I was saying how William loves a gag order, right? Because I saw a tweet, allegedly, William and Kate are allegedly taking some kind of French newspaper to court because they posted or they published photos of them on a skiing holiday where Kate had said she couldn't do any royal engagements due to the big C, cancer. And Wills is seen drinking a bottle of champagne in the picture, and I think they're with the kids. And it's their third holiday in April. What was the date? Let me see. Let me read the thing verbatim. So, William, if you're looking for me, go and find Rose. Leave me alone. Let me find that picture for you. I've got a little something for you. Was that 5? I don't know. I can't remember. It says here, Prince William and Kate Middleton suing French newspapers because they were caught on their third vacation in April, where Kate, who claiming to be too sick from cancer to work, was skiing and William was drinking at 10 a.m. in the morning. Now, I don't know the validity or the truth of all of those things. But what I will say is, half the things that we should be talking about regarding William, we don't talk about in the UK, because gag orders for the girls. Gag order for you, gag order for you, gag order for everybody. You can't say pim about him. That's where your money's going as taxpayers, for him to tell the press to shut the fuck up. Anyway, the scandal engulfing Prince Andrew over his links to sordid Jeffrey Epstein finally became too much for the king, who will now strip him of his royal title and kick him out of his rent-free mansion. And again, I know I haven't moved past the first paragraph, honey, but I will say this. When I was talking about the fact that his titles were going and things like that, people are like, well, that's not going to happen. They're not going to do that, because first it has to be a parliamentary thing, and then it has to be this, and you know, they can't take the lodge from him because it's a private dwelling. And can you see now? Can you see now? Even with this, there are people still saying, oh, they won't go all the way through with it because this and that's going to happen. And at the end of the day, he still gets to live with, no, he still gets to live at Sandringham, and Charles will be paying for him privately. But where's Charles getting the money to pay for him privately? How did they acquire that wealth? Everybody should ask. We need documentation. How did they acquire that wealth? Especially since, when did they seal the documents that would that covered the trips that what's his name, Andrew, has made whilst being an envoy or whatever in the name of the royals? Why did they have to seal the document? They should not be allowed to seal documents. Also, open up that other document open up Philip's will. Open up his will. They should not be allowed to keep these things a secret. If you are chopping the public's money, open your yash. I want to see everything. Open your bum. You shouldn't get to hide anything. But our privacy, then get the fuck. Get the fuck. You can't have your cake and eat it. I know that saying was beating some of you lot's bums, but yeah. Anyway, I think there's more coming out about him, and he might be extradited, and he might go to jail, because obviously he maybe can't be tried for any longer because he settled with Virginia Giuffre. But I feel like other things might come out about him that won't be so easy to settle. And all of you that miss the Queen, that you're happy, like on your websites as Black people, you've got yourself posing with the Queen. You need to understand that this woman knew what her son had done, and she paid 12 million of her face. 12 million, or is it 12 million of the dollars, 9 million-ish of her own face, right? To pay off the victim of her son. To pay off her son's victim. Let me use grammatically correct higgy haggers. That is the Queen that you lot are missing. This was her favourite son. That's what we're told, right? That this was her sunshine, her Nancy sunshine, right? This was her favourite son. Does that not tell you something about the character of your beloved Elizabeth? And I know wherever she is, looking up at everything that's happening, baby, let them turn up the heat. Actually. Maybe this is why they don't invite me to events. Anyway, the scandal engulfing Prince Andrew over his links to sordid Jeffrey Epstein finally became too much for the king, who will now strip him of his royal title and kick him out of his rent-free mansion. And the humiliating move sparked claims by one expert that there could be more revelations about the disgraced Duke to come. The family of Virginia Giuffre, who accused Andrew of sleeping with her when she was 17, said she has brought down a British prince with her truth and extraordinary courage. Andrew has always denied her claims. He also faces the threat of a private prosecution by anti-monarchy pressure group Republic. My G's, it's Republic, the members day that I'm speaking at tomorrow. So they have taken out a private case against him, since the police didn't want to pursue anything. They were like, okay, well, we'll just take out a private one then. So he also faces the threat of a private prosecution by anti-monarchy pressure group Republic over allegations of sexual assault, misconduct in a public office, and corruption. The prince, who will now be known only as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is to be evicted from Windsor's royal lodge, where he lived with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, and moved to Norfolk's Sandringham estate. But Fergie will have to find her own house. It's about time, girl. You lot haven't been together for a minute. What kind of arrangement? One of them must have not Scorpio, Aquarius placements. Oh, that was another thing. The sun is in Scorpio, right? And you know that the royals pay attention to astrology, whether you like it or not, and you think it's demonic, whatever the fuck. Them motherfuckers pay attention to astrology, okay? When was the coronation on a Scorpio full moon? They are now getting him the fuck out, or moving him somewhere else, trying to hide him away, right? They're doing all of that during the sun being in Scorpio, because the energy of the royal family as a whole is a scorpionic one, and it has to be, because Scorpio essentially is about taking the things from other people, like other people's resources, because if you were to look at a chart with Aries as the rising sign, we would see Scorpio as the 8th house of other people's resources. It also rules the sexual organs as well as waste as well, right? So there is a reason why some of the big things that they do always fall within Scorpio season. So I just wanted to share that little tidbit. You might be like, girl, that doesn't make any fucking sense to you. Okay? Anyway. But yeah, Fergalicious has to find somewhere to live because she no longer has I wonder if, when she's now made to fend for herself to a certain degree, because, you know, fending for herself is relative, she still will have some kind of money to a certain degree. But wasn't she begging for 15K? One of them was begging for 15K. She might want to start spilling tea because she hasn't got that protection anymore. And I think that the reason that they're keeping Andrew close is because Charles isn't innocent either. Sorry, I've got to say it. And I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but he was friends with Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile, one of the most notorious kiddie fiddlers going. And that was his boy. That was his homie. So birds of a feather, maybe they nonce together. I don't know. Allegedly, I don't know. But I think that that's why they can't let Andrew go rogue, and literally Charles is paying for him, because why else are you paying for him? What? Because of the wishes of your dead mother? You would be paying for him, doing all of these things because you know that you can't let him get too far away. You can't let him get into the hands of the wrong people, because he will start yapping like a royal yapper. That's just how I think about it. What is it here? After it was last night revealed Charles and Prince William were beginning the formal process to axe his titles, author Andrew Loney said the royal family were finally getting ahead of the story. They're rather far behind the story. Like, this has been going on for a minute. They're £9 million behind the story. They are far behind. That interview that he did, oh baby, you are merely playing catch up. And some people have speculated that if they can do this to him, then it's likely what they want to do to Harry and whatever else. And if they do, so what? They are literally going through the process that one would expect of Pluto in Aquarius, of dissolving the monarchy. So if they want to take Harry out of it, go right ahead, because we don't like William. We don't. So do whatever you're doing. Like, you're not going to get very far. You're done. The next 20 years is just a slow wrap up of whatever the hell this insanity has been in terms of the feudal system and monarchy. I don't know if I'm going to get through this because I keep stopping. He added, I don't think it's the end of it. I think there are many more disclosures to come, but at least they're taking some decisive action. So I don't think it's all over for him. Asked if he believed the move means it was more likely Andrew would be investigated by police, Mr. Loney replied, yes, I've been saying for some time now, they're going to throw Andrew under the bus to save themselves. And this is the first indication of that. This should have been done years ago. I think it's been Virginia Giuffre's book that kind of made the palace realize that there is a big problem here. Virginia killed herself in April, aged 41. Sorry, I just read it as I saw it. So sorry about that, trigger warning. Unalived herself. Before her memoir containing allegations against Andrew was published. Her family said today she declares a victory. Virginia was seen in a new photograph with Andrew and Epstein's ex, Ghislaine Maxwell, but he denies ever meeting her. Oh, so there was a new picture. Damn. The King and William's move came a day after the Mirror told how MPs piled pressure on Andrew over his stay at Royal Lodge after becoming caught up in scandal. Buckingham Palace said last night, Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. His lease on Royal Lodge has, to date, provided him with legal protection to continue in residence. Formal notice has now been served to surrender the lease and he will move to alternative private accommodation. These censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. Their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Charles will privately pay for his younger brother's accommodation. The developments required legal and constitutional expertise and support from the wider family, including William, to bring about. The government supports the decision for Andrew's titles to be axed. The Duke of York peerage will be removed from the peerage roll. The King is sending royal warrants to the Lord Chancellor to secure the removal of the Dukedom of York and from the roll. It means an Act of Parliament will not be required to remove Andrew's titles, which also include Earl of Inverness and Baron Killyleagh. Daughters Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie will not be affected by any changes. It is believed Andrew made no objection to his titles being stripped. Mr. Loney said, I think one of the reasons is to protect his daughters. It comes weeks after Andrew was also exposed for lying about cutting off contact with Epstein, gave up his Duke of York title, but he remains 8th in the line of succession. Kate better have more children because they need to extend that line, child, because, ooh. They're going to get that uterus working soon and very soon. Anyway, that was the Mirror. So now we are, I should just do all the trash bags first. So that was the Daily Mirror. Was that the Daily Mirror? Just the Mirror. I don't know what they call it. The Mirror. Anyway, the Daily Fail, the Daily Rag. And it's Halloween as well, So, Virginia's energy is strong because the veil is the thinnest. She said, this is just the beginning of his flogging. Just the beginning. And I know that Diana is helping her as well. The blondes are getting together and they are flogging the palace. I love it. The Daily Mail's one says, banished. Wait, let me just get that up. There we go. Banished. Sensation as the King strips Andrew of his prince title and forces him out of Royal Lodge as punishment for Epstein's scandal. After Mail, we've already pretty much read that report and analysis. Then we've got here, humiliation for Reeves as she changes her story. Rachel Reeves faced humiliation last night after she backtracked over her illegal letting blunder. There were growing calls for the Chancellor to be sacked following an extraordinary day of contradictory statements. The Daily Mail exclusively revealed on Wednesday night that since entering Downing Street, the Chancellor had been letting her family home without a license. Ms. Reeves had claimed that she and her husband, Nicholas Joycey, were unaware that they needed to secure a selective rental license. But emails released by Number 10 last night revealed extensive conversations between Mr. Joycey and their letting agent in which they were informed of the need for a license. Ooh, honey. Ms. Reeves conceded in a letter to the Prime Minister yesterday that she accepted it was her responsibility to secure the license. She said, today, the letting agency and my husband have found correspondence confirming that on 17th of July 2024, the letting agent said to my husband that a selective license would be required and agreed that the agency would apply for the license on our behalf. They also confirmed today they did not take the application forward, in part due to a member of staff leaving. Nevertheless, as I said yesterday, I accept it was our responsibility to secure the license. I also take responsibility for not finding this information yesterday and bringing it to your attention. Her contradictory claims led to fresh calls for ethics chief Sir Laurie Magnus to investigate. Meanwhile, the letting agency involved in Ms. Reeves' rental arrangements for her family home in Dulwich, South London, attempted to shoulder blame for the oversight. Harvey and Wheeler said the property manager responsible for applying for the license on her behalf had suddenly resigned before the tenancy began. But the firm added that they do not normally apply for licenses on behalf of our clients. The onus is on them to apply. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch said last night that it was still Miss Reeves' duty to make sure that something has been followed. And she told the Daily Mail, in opposition, Keir Starmer was always first out the blocks calling for Conservatives to be sacked. Now he's ignoring the evidence that Rachel Reeves broke the law because the flagging government can't handle a third resignation in as many months. As always with Labour, it's one rule for them and another rule for the rest of us. This weak Prime Minister needs to stop the cover-up under a proper investigation, order a proper investigation into Reeves and have the backbone to accept that if it shows she's broken the law, she has to go. Last night, Sir Laurie, the PM's independent advisor on the ministerial standards, said it was regrettable that Miss Reeves had not obtained the licence. He concluded that the Chancellor had committed an unfortunate but inadvertent error, but found no evidence of bad faith. He said Ms. Reeves' husband did not recall the exchange regarding the licence when the couple initially assured him they had not been aware of the need for one. In a letter to the Chancellor, Sir Keir Starmer last night made a pointed comment about her assurance on Wednesday night that she was unaware of the need for a licence. He wrote, "It would clearly have been better if you and your husband had conducted a full trawl through all email correspondence with the estate agency before writing to me yesterday." But he said he regarded the case as an inadvertent failure and said he saw no need for further action. Last night, Number 10 said Sir Keir retains full confidence in Ms. Reeves and said she would deliver the budget on November 26th. When the Daily Mail broke the story, Sir Laurie said her failure to secure the correct licence did not warrant further investigation. But Number 10 refused to say what evidence Ms. Reeves had provided to Sir Laurie to back up her claim that she had not been made aware of the licensing requirement. Downing Street also repeatedly refused to say whether the Chancellor's actions were in breach of the ministerial code. Ms. Reeves failed to obtain a landlord licence when she put her property on the rental market last year as she moved into 11 Downing Street. The 4-bedroom detached house was listed for rent at £3,200 a month, and her register of interest states she has received rental income since September 2024. Southwark Council, the local authority, requires that private landlords in certain areas, including one where Miss Reeves' house is located, obtain a selective licence to let their property. But the Chancellor failed to do so and hastily applied for a licence after the Daily Mail's inquiries. Ms. Reeves said it was an inadvertent mistake. They love this word inadvertent. Gosh. And she apologised to the Prime Minister for the error. I won't continue reading that drivel, but what I will say is that it's so interesting how the leaders of the country, who are meant to know the law back and forth, they definitely should be knowing their ministerial codes. They get to make mistakes up and down, but let us make the same mistake and there are issues. If you don't know your own laws, how should the average British person also know? When it comes to keeping money, when it comes to your kind of underhanded somehow behavior, why do you not get to do this? So you're charging £3,200 a month for that place. How much are you paying to live in 11 Downing Street? You're not paying, right? I don't know these things, but these members of parliament are eating off of us. They are chopping. They are enjoying. The average person is struggling. On Oxford Street, you've got all of the people experiencing houselessness, but you can charge 3,200 a month for your place and you can't even go and get a £900 license. Oh, there is thievery in the parliamentary. There is thievery in the parliamentary dancery, actually. I'm disgusted. The next rag, the Times. Andrew stripped of his prince title and home. King banishes disgraced royal to lonely life on Sandringham Estate, where he will be known as Mountbatten Windsor. They say lonely life on Sandringham Estate like it's a cave. It is probably still a large as fuck home where he will have staff waiting on him hand and foot. What do you even mean? Banished. Do you know what banishing means? To a lonely life on Sandringham Estate. Be so for real. He's still going to be having a good time. That is until he needs to smell a jail cell. So he needs to choose one. Either you head on out for yourself or you head on into that cell. But you're going to be in captivity one way or another. You choose. The captivity of the afterlife or the captivity of a jail cell. Up to you. Well, they basically say the same thing that we've read. A palace source said that while his former wife, Sarah Ferguson, would be allowed to continue to live with Andrew, a palace said that while his former wife, Sarah Ferguson, would be allowed to continue to live with Andrew at a property in Sandringham, they understood that she was unlikely to do so. It brings to an end decades of cohabitation for the couple who have continued to live together despite divorcing in 1996. What? What? Oh, so is it like the Saturn return? Yeah, it's the Saturn return of their relationship, no? I think so. Interesting. Well, it'll be the Saturn return of their relationship next year. So, yeah, they should be living separately by next year. Or the Saturn return of their divorce. Andrew's daughters, Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, will retain their titles. The king's actions come after weeks of revelations over Andrew's relationship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Charles is understood to have come to the decision after his brother's serious lapses in judgment, although Andrew continues to deny the allegations against him. It is understood that the king decided further steps were necessary when Andrew refused to move out of Royal Lodge. He's been refusing for time. He's been refusing since I was on Say Your Mind podcast. The Times revealed this month that Andrew had only paid peppercorn rent on his 30-bedroom Grace and Favour mansion on the Windsor estate for 2 decades. Didn't I say the other day that me too, I'm looking for peppercorn rent for a new premises, but do I even need a new office and new premises if I don't plan to stay in England, since people want me deported anyway? The King's decision is thought to have been delayed by legal and constitutional complexities, but is supported by the government and wider royal family, including Prince William. A royal source said His Majesty was determined to do the right thing, not the rushed thing. The king initiated the process and Andrew did not object. It is understood Andrew remains 8th in line to the throne because of the line of succession has not been changed. He also remains a councillor of state, a member of the royal family able to deputise for the king, although a 2022 amendment stipulated that a non-working member of the royal family would not be allowed to act in the role. Okay, so that would mean that they did that so Harry could also not take up the role because they were more concerned about him marrying a biracial woman than the nonce under their nose. Oh, maybe that's the title, but I don't know if I can get away with nonce as a title. Anyway, Reeves misled Starmer about license for property rental. Rachel Reeves was last night reprimanded by Sir Keir Starmer after admitting she had misled the Prime Minister over her failure to get a license to rent out her home. The Chancellor backtracked on previous claims that she and her husband were unaware that they needed a license to rent out their home in Dulwich, South London. I've always wanted to live in Dulwich Village. If you want me to stay, that's the only way you can probably get me to stay, by get me a property in Dulwich Village. But there's no need because I don't want to be here. I mean, in this country, if that's the case, since people don't appreciate my je ne sais quoi, also known as je ne sais quoi. So big stories, but I think something else is being obfuscated, because there's something about Face ID, right? Apple Face ID that the government's trying to pass as well. I don't know the ins and outs, so let me not talk out of my nostrils. But finally, The Guardian is our last paper. And it says here, Andrew to be stripped of his royal titles and must move out of home. King's decision means former Duke of York will no longer be Prince. Well, there we go. We've all read all of that. And I was going to say this, though, because this caught my eye. Andrew has always denied claims he had sex with Giuffre when she was 17, but we've seen that it happened on 3 separate occasions based on what she said. I don't know, there's something about this picture as well of the two of them at the front of The Guardian, him and Charles, where it just gives nonce. But anyway, there are men, or there are accounts online that are like, but 17's legal, what's the issue? And my issue with you lot is that if they said that the age of consent was 14, was 12, was 11, was 10, you would still think it's okay. Like, and somebody needs to check your hard drive. Lettings agency takes blame for Reeves's error. I feel like there's a cover up there as well, but that's none of my business. Keir Starmer appears to have escaped the huge political damage of losing his chancellor weeks before the budget. I still think she's going to go. I could be wrong though, but when they say, oh, there's nothing else to investigate here, there absolutely is. And you're going to have to, if you want to keep your role as leader of the party. So bear that in mind. After 24 hours of intense scrutiny over whether Rachel Reeves had broken the law when she rented out her family home, the Conservatives said Reeves must be sacked if she had committed any offence by not obtaining a council licence before letting her 4-bedroom house in South London. And Number 10 was initially unable to explain why Starmer believed an apology from the Chancellor was sufficient. But after a chaotic day, the lettings agency employed by Reeves said it was to blame for not applying for the licence and apologised for the error. But they say that they don't normally apply for the licence for people. So again, they just found a fall guy and paid them handsomely, I would believe. I don't know, though. That was just mere speculation. UN leaders condemn Sudan mass killings. Absolutely. Diplomats and senior UN figures speaking at the UN Security Council have condemned mass killings by the Rapid Support Forces in El Fasher after the Sudanese city descended into an even darker hell following the paramilitary group's takeover. Widespread reports of ethnically targeted killings in recent days prompted the UK as the UN penholder on Sudan to call an emergency session of the Security Council in New York yesterday. The situation is simply horrifying. It's scary to me. I couldn't sleep last night because I was looking at some of the images from Sudan, and I can't explain it. Like, we are in extremely horrid times and have been, this isn't new, but it's scary. Martha Ama Akia Pobi, the Assistant Secretary General of the UN for Africa, told the meeting, in the past week, the UN Human Rights Office has documented widespread and serious human rights violations in and around El Fasher. These include credible reports of mass killings in various locations and summary executions during house-to-house searches. And as civilians have tried to flee the city, communications have been cut off. The situation is chaotic. In this context, it is difficult to estimate the number of civilians killed. Despite commitments to protect civilians, the reality is that no one is safe in El Fasher. There is no safe passage for civilians to leave the city. Pobi added, the external support is enabling the conflict. Weapons and fighters continue to flow into Sudan, further contributing to the already desperate situation. Tom Fletcher, the Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, told the meeting El Fasher, already the scene of catastrophic levels of human suffering, has descended into an even darker hell. Fletcher condemned the reported killing of nearly 500 people at the Saudi maternity hospital and said tens of thousands were fleeing to Tawila, where civilians, mostly women and children, faced extortion, violence and abduction. In a statement, the Security Council said recent developments in El Fasher had a devastating impact on the civilian population, and that council members condemned reported atrocities being perpetrated by the RSF against the civilian population, including summary executions and arbitrary detentions. The UN session is likely to be uncomfortable for the United Arab Emirates, the RSF's key external backer, but diplomatic calls for the UN to recognize it as recognize it had a responsibility to protect people from a deliberate genocide, as opposed to merely condemning a breach of international humanitarian law, were sparse. In the UK, the Foreign Office Minister, Stephen Doherty, told MPs in the Commons the reports of mass atrocities against civilians and the forced displacement caused by the RSF advances in Al Fasher are both horrifying and deeply alarming. Callum Miller, the Liberal Democrat Foreign Affairs spokesperson, called for a ban on all UK arms sales to the UAE until it was proved that any such previous exports had not been transferred to Sudan from the UAE for use by the RSF. The Guardian reported on Tuesday that British military equipment used by the RSF had been found on battlefields in Sudan, according to documents seen by the UN Security Council. Doty admitted that UK-made military equipment had been found in Sudan, but distinguished items from weaponry, telling MPs there was no evidence in the recent reporting of UK weapons or ammunition being used in Sudan. The UAE has denied that it gives military support to the RSF. Kate Ferguson, the co-director of Protection Approaches, a UK charity working to tackle identity-based violence and mass atrocities, said, "We need an emergency coalition of conscience to drive an immediate global effort to protect civilians and end the atrocities, and demonstrate to the UAE that that enabling deliberate destruction of populations is not tolerated." Human Rights Watch has called for targeted sanctions to be imposed on the UAE leadership. I think what really broke me was when I saw the amount of blood that could be seen from above, that the soil, the ground was so soaked with the blood of the Sudanese people that it could be seen from above. An aerial image could see all of the blood. Do you understand the level of mass murder that's taking place in that space? It boggles the mind that these things continue to happen, but because you lot want to do up Dubai lifestyle, so to break it down from what I understand, because I don't be understanding all of the things all of the time, okay? Sudan's gold makes its way, well, the gold that is taken from Sudan is what the UAE wants, and as a result of getting that gold, they are providing ammunition, artillery, funds, all of that to the RSF to keep up this killing so they can have access to the gold that they want. And what even is gold? Black people, African people are being killed in their hundreds of thousands, if not millions. So the West and so the UAE can have this lifestyle. And I've been saying that I can see a link between what's happening, because a lot of the world championships right now, whether it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or the UFC, all of these things now are being funded by Saudi money. And for a reason, the money needs to be washed, and it's being pushed into these different sports and these different arenas, these different spheres. And a lot of money is being pushed into marketing to get people to go, you know what? I think I want to go and live over there. I want to go and live in Dubai. I want to go and live in Abu Dhabi. I want to go and live in all of these places whilst they're committing these atrocities. But because the people are darker than Palestinians, for the most part, the general public doesn't get to hear about it as much. And also because of the money that Britain is also making, whether it wants to admit it or not, Britain is also making from these atrocities. They won't let it be shown too much in the media because everybody else's suffering is a payday for Britain. And it's scary to me that this continues. And I saw another story as well that I wanted to share very quickly. Let me see if I can get it up on here. I'm going to get it now because it really kind of summed up why I have the children's home in Nigeria. So it says here, Ochanya died of VVF, but her killers roam free. Here's everything that you need to know. So on Saturday, October 25th, 2025, a change.org petition popped up calling for justice for Ochanya Elizabeth Ogbanje. Over the weekend, social media saw a fresh wave of conversations about the incredibly tragic story of Ochanya. On October 17th, 2018, Ochanya Ogbanje, a 13-year-old girl, passed away after months of suffering from vesicovaginal fistula, VVF. VVF is a medical condition where an opening forms between the bladder and the vagina, causing constant leakage of urine. It is usually a complication of pregnancy and childbirth, but it can also be caused by brutal cases of RAPE. For Ochanya, it was the latter. Ochanya, born on March 10th, a Pisces baby, 2005, was the last of 11 children born to Rose Abba and Michael Ogbanje. At 5 years old, her parents, who wanted her to get an education after the only government school in their community of Ogene Amejo in Benue State was shut down, sent her to live with her aunt Felicia Obuja. The Obujas lived in Ugboloko, Benue State, where Ochanya began schooling. She lived with Felicia, her husband, Andrew Obuja, who was a lecturer at Benue State Polytechnic, and their 5 children. The assault was first discovered by Winifred, Andrew, and Felicia's daughter, who caught her brother assaulting Ochanya and reported it to their parents. While Andrew joined in scolding his son, he would later go on to assault Ochanya as well. Neither Andrew nor Felicia informed Ochanya's parents until they were confronted. It was 2012 that the toll on Ochanya's body began to show. From then on, she was constantly in and out of hospital. In 2018, she was sent home from federal government's Girls' College, Woko, after multiple visits to the school's sick bay. She had trouble standing and was passing out waste uncontrollably. She would spend the last few months of her life having to use diapers. She eventually passed on October 17, 2018. Unfortunately, when it came to delivering judgments, Nigeria's judicial system served up the kind of head-scratching logic that is sadly all too familiar. On the same day, Thursday, April 21st, 2022, while Andrew faced his verdict at the Benue State High Court, Felicia faced her own judgment at the Federal High Court. The Federal High Court found Felicia guilty of negligence and sentenced her to 5 months in prison. Meanwhile, a completely different outcome played out at the State High Court. The judge there, Augustine Ifeanyiman, acquitted Andrew of all charges. The judge based his judgment on the failure of the police to medically match Andrew to the reports presented before the court and the contradictory autopsy reports provided by that they provided basically. And I'm reading that from Zikoko Mag. You know, I was talking about this last week, and I think that I will never stop talking about these things. I know that some people, it makes them squirm or whatever, but I don't actually give a fuck, because this is why I started the children's home. I'm thankful that I didn't get to the extent of what happened to Ochanya, but having experienced that an assault at a young age, again, I should always put trigger warning on these things. Experiencing that at such a young age, around 6 years old, 7, I know what it does to me psychologically, or has done to me psychologically as well as physically to this day. I can't imagine the constant things that she faced, having that done to her relentlessly, and then passing away in that way. That's why I have the children's home. It's called Child of Light, and it's in Abulegba in Lagos. When my mum came to me about that idea, she had a particular way that she wanted it to be. But for me, for it to be regenerative, for it to be progressive, it had to be done in a particular way. And so I went to an event the other day, and ordinarily I'm not really going because I feel like on a governmental level, you lot are fucking shit up. At the same time, I had to put myself aside and think like, I need to make contacts that would allow for the funding that I need in order to be able to get computers and to get the things that I need for these children to have at the children's home. It's not an orphanage. They don't leave. They get to stay there. And I've made it clear with the social worker, because I literally have fired a social worker a little while back as well, that those children, you must treat them like they are your biggest priority on earth. The 9 children that we've got there so far, they're sent by the government to us, are assigned to us by the government for these very reasons. Some of the stories are obviously, because of data protection, I wouldn't go into it, but some of the stories of how these young children, you know, of 7 years old, 8 years old, 12 years old, of how they got to us, to how they got to the children's home, would make you throw up as to what they've been through. Like, if I ever see the people who are meant to be their caregivers on road, that's when I will fight. Because what do you actually mean? These little babes, these little bubbers, all you had to do was look after them, and you didn't. You tortured them instead. So it is of utmost importance to me, even when I'm, you know, having to hustle out here to do the things that I'm doing and pivot and do all of these things. I do it because those children have to have a good life. Like, it is important to me that they have a good life, and as much as possible, they are protected from further harm, because this world can be a fucking horrible place, especially for children, and especially for little black children. My God. And we can't expect the judicial system to do right by these children, because there are people who are literally out here justifying, oh, well, they were that age, and, you know, it is this and it is that. May you all burn for eternity, even though I don't think that that's possible, because we're just souls. But you get what I mean? Like, I just wish you the worst. So, yeah, like, my heart goes out to Ochanya, and may you rest in peace, baby girl. And I'm sorry that this world was so horrible for you. And as well as all of the people who are experiencing these mass atrocities, also known as genocides, across the world, and the ones that we hear of and the ones that we don't hear about, right? Because I am sickened that the people in power only want this, only want the worst for us. And the little morsels of what we see as relative goodness that we have, we think that that's enough for us to just ignore everything else that's happening in the world. And I absolutely will fucking not. So if that means that people can walk by me or see me at events and joke about me being deported or whatever else, make all of the jokes you want. But I know that I can rest easy when my time finally comes. I can rest easy knowing that every single fucking day that I will spend on this planet, I'm going to do my best to try and leave it better than I found it. Not for me or how I'm remembered, but for the children and just the general people of this world and their inner child. I'm thinking of the literal children and the inner children in all of the adults that I happen to come by who are willing to meet me where I've met myself. That's it. Quickly then, in your news, because I know I need to wrap this up. I need to actually go and be a guest on another podcast. Let's see here. Your news. What did you send me? I saw one thing that there's just one thing that got me. Hi Kelechi, forgive me, this email may be a little on the long side. However, I thought you might be interested in this news story from The Guardian, both as a talking point for front page fuckery and as a published author yourself. The story covers a report by a charity called Inclusive Books for Children. Their research found the number of children's books featuring black main characters dropped by more than a fifth between 2023 and 2024. Of the 2,721 books they reviewed, Only 1.9% featured a black main character, down by 21.5% compared to 2023. It described the findings as a catastrophic decline in black representation. It also reported that 6% of children's books featured marginalized main characters, and just under half, 49% of those were actually created by authors or illustrators from those groups. I read the story with interest for a number of reasons. The cynic in me feels vindicated, but also frustrated. It seems like it's back to business as usual after the rush on signing record-breaking diverse publishing deals in the wake of George Floyd's murder and the Black Lives Matter movement. It seemed like publishing houses were falling over themselves to publicly announce their commitment and support. Where has all that energy gone? Empathy. As a prolific reader from young, I can attest to the power of immersing myself in different worlds, views, and characters. Being able to put myself in someone else's shoes or identify with a character through the safety of the written word is more important than ever, especially for a generation being shaped by AI. Normalize fascism, toxic social media, and bullying. I think you will agree that it's no coincidence that the Trump government is moving to ban or restrict books in schools that are related to race, racism, and LGBTQ plus issues. It's sad to say that libraries over here are increasingly being pressured to do the same. In addition, the National Literacy Trust reports that reading for pleasure is at an all-time low, with only 1 in 3 kids aged 8 to 18 saying they enjoy reading, a 36% drop since 2005. So where do we go from here to level the playing field? I'm going to do what I can in my own little spheres of influence. I will continue to buy books and recommend books from ethnic, minority, neurodivergent, and disabled authors. Yep, I have all of yours. Thank you. I follow and share posts from these authors on any social media platform I can find. I'm going to get off my behind and finish writing my own young adult novel. Thank you. I'm waiting for that. I will volunteer as a reading volunteer at my local school. I'll also get involved in the National Year of Reading in 2026 that has been announced by the government in collaboration with the National Literacy Trust. Thanks for bearing with me through this long email. I hope it encourages listeners to think about how they can make a difference too. As always, thanks for everything you do. Many blessings to you and your family. Thank you for sending that through. It's all a joke. You know, arguably there are people who can call themselves bestsellers around that George Floyd time who only got it because of white guilt. And I'm not saying that that means it's any less deserved, but we can see that it was just a rush by the industry to pretend that they're not racist, but only to now revel in that very said racism. So I felt it as a children's book author. I felt the lack of care that is given to books when your protagonist is a little black girl. Like, you can see my cover here of one of my picture books, others to come, Strong Like Me. And I'm showing you Strong Like Me because initially, when the design was sent through, Kamara, the character, the main character in my picture book, she was put in a red t-shirt. And I had to point out that no, she can't be in a red t-shirt because red signifies to people on a subconscious level. I mean, there are other cultures that read it as good luck, but in this culture that we're in, people read it as danger or anger. So that needs to change. And then there was like, you know what? You're actually right. If we are not clocking these things, it's crazy what ends up going out. And I'm appreciative to the schools who call me to come in and read my books and chat with them and everything, because the publishing industry is just extremely racist is all that I can tell you. Nothing has changed. Like, they'll sign black authors. First, they'll pay you disgustingly lower than what they pay white authors. And then the level of care that they take with your books, almost non-existent. A lot of the black authors that I know who are out and about right now, they're organizing their own book tours. I paid for my own digital billboard when Edge of Here came out because apparently there wasn't money for that. So where's my marketing budget going? Where does it go? Like, people don't want to say anything because they're like, oh, I don't want to cause any issue with the rare and the rare. Me, I like issues. Bring the issue. Because what the hell is going on, right? We deserve better than this. Most authors that I know, as much as they're doing happy to announce on social media, go and spend 5 minutes talking to them and you see how miserable they are because of the way that they're treated in the industry. But let me go and write a problematic character. Let me go and write some bullshit and then watch how much money will be pushed into that, because I'm perpetuating a stereotype that actually the readers that they care about, which are white women readers, they'll love that. Yeah, write that. We want that. No. Words are spells, which is why in Awakened, when I talk about the disgraced royal, I was calling it into being. I said that the royals will be disgraced. Like there's more disgrace coming. And I wrote that into my story. And I'll continue to, whether the books pop now or they pop 5 years from now, 15 years from now, one way or another, you're going to recognize that I am one of the best to ever do it, actually. But I read these things and I'm not surprised. I have a new picture book idea that I wrote, a story, and I sent it out and I'm waiting to hear back. But my thing is that story is coming out either way. You either is going with a publisher or I will self-publish. And I think that after I've seen out all my contracts, eventually I will self-publish, because I only go into situations to understand the lay of the land. And from what I'm understanding, it's a madness. So let me just publish myself then. At least then I can keep the money. I might not get money up front, but I'm going to keep what I make down the line, and I will execute it in a way that feels like I maintain my integrity. And it's like, it's expensive having integrity in this society, because I don't get as many press spots because, oh, they're scared I might say Free Palestine, or I might talk about something that actually makes any fucking sense. It's hard. It's hard, and it's sometimes a lonely slog to be so creative, but know that because you stand for so many things and you stand for the liberation of so many people, and you go against the systems that are in place, or you don't want to play ball with the systems that are in place, that it will mean that some of your creativity isn't celebrated in the way that it should be, or isn't spotlighted in the way that it should be, because it's just pushing things a little bit too much. We have to keep the babies reading. We have to keep the babies reading. We have to keep making them exercise that muscle of imagination, because if they lose the essence of imagining, if they lose the essence of being able to enter into different worlds and realms, we stand no chance at creating a new world, because they have to be able to see it. They have to be able to imagine it for us to be able to inhabit it. So anyway, I hope that resonates. I've just been yapping for a minute, but that's another episode done. Let's see if I can actually edit this by myself and get it out. And I'm sending you all lots of love. I feel like there was loads that we covered today, quite a bit actually. And yeah, Andrew, maybe in a few episodes time, we'll be talking about the FBI knocking on his door, hollering at him. No more royal protections, actually. But yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure that you spent some of your day with me whenever you decide to listen to this. I appreciate it. Do remember to comment, subscribe, whatever the hell. I don't know how that slogan, that whole line goes. Like, rate, subscribe. You know the things. Definitely comment, because I enjoy reading your comments. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you next week. I have been Kelechi Okafor, the baby girl, aka Mother of London, and this has been Front Page Fxckery, turning bad news into great conversation. So I guess I will catch you on the other side of the news. Bless.
Oh, have you heard the news? It's probably been twisted to keep the general population conflicted. Better lick your finger and turn the page. Dissect the lines that made you to rage. Get out of your Monday drudgery. Turn up the volume on Front Page Fxckery. Yeah.